everybody, it's Gypsy, and welcome to On the Edge of Appalachia. Today is Sunday, March 30th, 2025, and I'm on my way to the flea market to vend. And as you can see, it's a gloomy, rainy day. Yesterday, it wasn't like really sunny, but it was in the 70s, and oh my God, the flea market, it was crazy. It was like noisy. We had a lot of customers. It was great. It didn't start settling down, quieting down until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a business we like. It is, it wears me out. It wears down my energy because whenever I'm with a lot of people, that happens to me. And I'm having trouble recharging. That's why by Sunday evening, every weekend, I'm like, I need alone time. I need quiet. I need to be out in my garden or doing my arts. I need to recharge. But anyways, it was great. We had good business yesterday. It was fun talking to different people and stuff. I got this new regular customer. He's very unusual, very unique, and he reminds me so much of my uncle. And I told him, I said, my uncle would be a lot older than you are. I said, he died 37 years ago when he was in his 60s. This man is 77 now. But he's an artist himself. And he was just going crazy over my art. Thankfully, he bought something from the other side of my booth, which is my typical, flea market resale stuff. So he bought a fedora I had, and then a piece of my art. And we talked a lot about art. When he was leaving, he said, he comes every weekend. He goes, I will definitely be coming back to your booth. But here's the thing, this guy, he comes to flea market. He's known to not be shy about purchasing things. But he had never come into my booth yet. We have a lot of booths, so, it'll take a while. But he's in my booth looking at my stuff and talking to me. And other vendors are going by, giving me the thumbs up and smiling, because when this person is in your booth, it's going to be a good day for that vendor. So, it's like everybody was walking by congratulating me, which was nice. But it was, it was just like, felt like it was summer already, because when you go to fairs or you go to flea markets and it's crowded and noisy, that's what it felt like. Today with the rain and everything, I'm expecting it to be much more quiet, which is disappointing and boring. It does make for a long day. But anyways, so I was thinking, okay, this is another thing I learned when I started getting into spiritualism. And I believe the spiritual teacher I learned this from originally was Till Swan. She's my favorite still to this day. She's very practical and down to earth. Her earlier videos, she does talk more about the other dimensional stuff. But I'd say most of the time, especially the last several years, it's more practical application of spirituality for a human being living on this planet. So I think that's the reason I like her. I like to talk about the weird stuff too, but I need to see that someone is realistic. Let's put it that way. So anyways, this teaching I had a really hard time with. It was hard for me to understand. And I had just lost my son, so it was even harder to understand. Now, this spiritual thing is, I believe, also being used or has been used in psychiatry. And it's called detachment. And I have often wondered, what exactly does detachment really mean? Because I would say twice in my life, one was when I was a very young adult, in my 20s. One was more recently, where someone used a detachment on me, although I don't really consider this true detachment. Because, well, I think it means something different to everyone. And I think when a therapist tries to teach someone, a client, about this, it could be misunderstood. Now, when I first learned about it from Till Swan, she actually did a good job explaining it, but I still couldn't grasp it. It took me years to get a handle on this, and so maybe therapists are explaining it the correct way, but people are misunderstanding. I mean, when you hear the word detachment, what do you think of? What does that mean to you? Yeah, now, yes, at first to me, I thought, well, that sounds like, removing yourself or giving someone the cold shoulder and showing them you just really don't care about them. And that's what I thought it was, especially when it came to my son's death. When I was first learning this, it was right after he died. And I was like, that's impossible. How could a mother do that? I mean, I can't, So, here is what I think, and maybe even still I'm misinterpreting it. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? What does it mean to you? So, to me, detachment doesn't mean giving someone the cold shoulder. It does not mean you kick them out of your life totally, give them a cold shoulder, tell them, oh, tough shit, whatever. It doesn't mean that at all. To me, it means having the ability to have compassion, empathy for another person, and if you can and are willing, help them with the situation they may be having. Okay? It is having that ability, those abilities, without having it affect your life. Okay? So what I mean by that is, you can help this person. You can listen to this person if they need to vent, if they need a shoulder to cry on. Or, if it needs to go further, you can help. If it needs to go further and you feel you have the ability. Okay? But you do it without it being all consuming. You do it with still living your life on your terms, okay? In other words, you could still be there for someone you care about, for anyone. You could still be there and still be you, still live your life. You do not have to drop your significant other, your children, or anybody else to help this other person, to listen to this other person. It does not have to be all-consuming. And that's a sign, to me, of spiritual evolution. When you can be there for someone, be present in that moment when they need you. And, do that, be there for that person, present, in the present moment. Make space for that person. When you can do that, and then carry on with your life, and still, okay, if they come back later and need to talk, you can actually be honest and say, well, I can't talk right now. Can I call you back? Can we get together later? I'm here for you still. I'm just busy with this right now. I'll get right back to you, whatever. Or if you can, stop then and listen to this person. You do it. I mean, it's just like not being drawn in by drama. Okay? That's what it is. Somebody needs you, you listen. Now, what you never, ever want to do, which in both cases, now, this first time it happened to me, I was engaged to this person, and his therapist, because I had an issue, a health issue. It was a mental health issue. I had severe anorexia when I was young. And his therapist told me he needed to detach from it. Well, my fiance's version of detaching was like, okay, I was in the hospital the whole time. And back then, when you were in the hospital for something like an eating disorder where your life was in danger, you were in there a while. It wasn't this 2-3 day shit like they do now. And so I was in there for quite some time. Not once did I hear from him. Not once. My therapists in the hospital, in all the therapy groups, they were like, get rid of him. He's showing you how much he does not care. And I did just that when I got out of the hospital. And he worked in the office across from me. And he came back into my office where I worked like nothing had gone wrong. And started talking to me, hey baby, I hadn't heard from him in almost a month. That's not detachment. Now, his therapist at that time later became my oldest son's therapist. Okay, and then, moreover, without me even knowing it, this was after this doctor died, I ended up renting, and my older son was an adult at this time, and my younger son was a teenager, so it was significantly much later because my younger son, I hadn't even met his dad yet. The house I rented from, the house belonged to his widow, this doctor's widow, because his doctor had bought this rental property and stuff. And I had told his wife, she's a wonderful lady, I love her, she's my type of person. When I told her this story, and I think she knew who I was talking about, she goes, that is not what my husband meant. That's not detachment. Okay, so he could have visited me at the hospital, send me a card, flowers, whatever. Hey, I'm thinking of you, I love you, I'm here for you. But I don't know, maybe he was wrapping himself up too much in my illness, not living, not doing his own thing too. It's like, you can't wrap yourself up in the illness. You can be there for someone without attaching yourself to the situation. My situation started long before I met him. So, it's like, that's not, okay, that's giving someone the cold shoulder and then cutting them off. And they're in a bad situation and you expect them to understand. No, it's not detachment. It's cutting someone off and giving them the cold shoulder. Okay? You have to be able to detach, and this does not, it doesn't even just apply to people. It's situations, it applies to things. Never ever have an expectation of an outcome. I guess that would be the best way to put it. Now, there are, it's natural to have a desired outcome, but to become so attached to it that it affects your life, especially, one way or the other, if it does or does not happen, it's called being attached. Okay, so it's not just with people, situations, things. Say you have something you want to happen, and it either does not happen or it does not happen in the manner you would like. And it shatters you. It shatters your life. It's called being attached. So it's like, what I have learned over the past 11 years with detachment is to more or less observe. And I think I started to learn this when I don't want to say play games, but it kind of was like manifesting became a game. Because I had trouble understanding that at first too, because it's another rough one. But what I learned with manifesting is the biggest thing is not to be attached to the outcome. Because believe me, your higher self and the universe aren't looking at it the same way you are from this very physical dimension. And we always have this expected, very linear way of looking at things. So it's always, there's that gorgeous river again. You're always going to be shocked. Now, I have, put an intention out there to manifest something. What I learned was, however it manifested or not, I need to be, well, okay, that's how that turned out. Okay, next, what's ever next, it's like, yeah, there's some things you're gonna be disappointed about. We get disappointed, but to say, all right, that didn't work out. Okay, so all right, my booth at the flea market. I love vending. I started vending when I was living on the road in the Southwest. And sorry, you don't need to be looking at my disability placard. I loved it. Well, after I recovered from my injury, I wanted to go back to doing it, but I wanted to do it here. And I realized that because my injury and my fatigue all the time, I'm trying to get you guys a good look at the river, it would be too difficult to do it like itinerantly, like going around to different flea markets and getting up in the wee hours of the morning before the sun even rose to set up my table somewhere outside. I needed a permanent booth somewhere inside where I could just keep my stuff all the time, because it would help with my energy level and that kind of stuff. So my booth is always set up. So I worked on manifesting that situation. In the physical realm, we do have to work on manifesting a situation. It's not a mere thought and voila, it happens. That's the spirit realm. After we no longer have a physical body, that happens. You can do that if you wish, but not here. So we do have manifesting, but it's slower. Now, what I did know about getting this booth was I had to go on a waiting list because they were full up. No vacancies, nothing. I had no idea if I would get in there. But after a few months, I did. Now, I was very excited about that. But the thing was, my attitude was more of an observer. I wait and see what happens, okay? So if I didn't get that booth, I'd be like, oh, darn. It would have been my attitude. And I would have started looking elsewhere. Or come up with a different idea and trying to manifest that. Everything, all my life, as depressing as it was for me to watch what was going on in this world and the way the system works, it was depressing for me, but I couldn't do anything about it at the time. So I observed, I watched. I had to be detached from it. Okay, that's how I am. That's what detachment is. It's kind of like not allowing people, places, and things and events to profoundly affect you. Okay, you have to still be true to yourself despite who does what happens, what an outcome is. You have to still be able to go on with your life. Okay, so all right, even in my situation with my son, that is not, ooh, look how green everything is getting. Oh, wow. That is not an outcome I wanted, I desired. Okay, it was devastating. But now, this detachment, remember, is not cold. It's not giving a cold shoulder. And believe me, to this day, 11 years later, I still care about what happened to my son. But detachment is, I went on with my life. I'm living my life, okay? you know, in the past 11 years, I still did some very amazing things. I mean, how many 54-year-old women do you know would pick up by themselves, not bringing family with them, get a truck and a trailer, and live on the road, coast to coast? Especially when I got to the desert, I'm like, oh, I like it here. So I stayed a while. But I lived off-grid in a little tiny travel trailer for 4 years. I did not give it up until I fell and shattered my leg. Now, I could probably do it, but it would be a hell of a lot more difficult because it's not an easy lifestyle. But I did that after my son died. I was vending, you know, I'm vending now. I'm now that my leg is healed. I've got this huge garden. I'm taking this huge yard, and I'm trying to turn it into, well, I don't know if you would call this a food forest or what, but I'm trying to turn the entire property into food. Okay, so that is an example of, despite how painful and how much, yes, my son's death does affect my life, I can detach enough from that situation to go and create wonderful things for me in, well, my remaining family members. You know, that's what detachment is. Detachment is never not caring, but detachment is not being cold. When someone you love comes to you, or even doesn't come to you, you think they might need a shoulder to cry on, you could take a few minutes out of your day to listen to them, to let them cry. If you're going to give your loved ones the cold shoulder and label it detachment, you're going to start losing a lot of people in your life. This was going to happen. So you need to learn the true definition and the healthy way to be detached. So I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be, and make it a joyful one.